So thank you for liking, subscribing. Pulling a nice bucket here out of the burn pile. No big materials in there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of throw it up in the middle, and we'll back drag it later when I get everything in here, and then we will water it in. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. One of you was commenting about my big gay hat. I love my straw hat, though I do need a cowboy hat, I'll tell you that. I do need a cowboy hat, because I gotta keep this skin pretty. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just gotta keep it pretty. I want to share with you guys a method I've learned in the last year and a half, 2 years, about soil and creating soil. So I just brought in a load, got the Cumster back. She's running pretty well. New lift pump, new whatever, new everything on that truck at this point in time, like new everything on that thing. So I just brought back a load of topsoil. We are in Florida, and we don't have that great of topsoil. It's not, it's basically sand. This is the stuff that they scrape off at the pit. That, I don't know what the organic compound in it. It's a little darker, but if it sits here and gets like nice and dry, it's gonna be pretty white in color and very sandy. It's basically sand. Anyone else would be like, oh, that's pretty much sand. Yeah. What I've done here is I've got the burn pile that I've been burning off. Got some trees that we had taken down, some cleared areas, some dead trees. Clean those up, and I'm bringing in loads of chips. And so I'm gonna go ahead and got a big pile on the other side of the property. I have the tree guys bring in chips. If you don't have a tractor, no big deal. You can do this. Having a tractor helps. Having an area where you have guys just drop chips for a while, and then maybe renting from like a Home Depot rento or something like that, a little small skid steer to help you put it out, super helpful. I've got about 1.5 feet, maybe, give or take, probably about 1.5 feet of mulch here. And in that, I'm taking some of the ash, not the big pieces. I don't want this, so I'm gonna actually throw this, return this back into the pile and continue to burn this down. But I'm taking the ash, I'm spreading it out on top, and then I'm just piling on mulch. And what's going to occur is over the next year, 2 years, it's going to start to break down really nice and give me a really, really rich soil. There's going to be worms and microbes and bacteria and all that stuff. I can actually feel the heat off of this right now. It smells really good as well. I'm not planting anything in it at the moment. I've got to finish off that area, and then I have plans for this area. I bought my first plant for this area, but I'm not ready to plant it just yet. I'm gonna finish this up, get a ton of mulch in here, understanding that mulch wood chips will typically break down 1 to 4. So if you go ahead and put, say, 2 feet, make it easy, 2 feet of wood chips, you'll probably end up with like 1/2 foot of really good soil when all is said and done. Some of you may ask, well, what about weeds as you start to plant trees? I'm gonna basically do fruit trees, avocado trees, banana trees, things like that in this area. What about weeds? When you use a mulch-like soil, it's super easy to come in with anything, a pitchfork, a hoe, any of that, and just kind of toss them and just flip them up into the air and just let them die on the spot. It's also sometimes not even necessary to mess with them, because maybe once a year you go in there and weed whack it, get them really low to the ground, and then just add additional chips. And so this method of soil creation is just literally layer after layer of adding chips. If you're gonna add tons and tons of what they call pot ash, basically just ash from burning or whatnot, it is preferred that you can get it to where it's more of a charcoal-like base. So what you're looking for is you're trying to go after something that is like this. That is really, really good stuff, kind of breaks apart in your hand. That's what you want. And then there are methods to activate it. I'll do a video on activating charcoal. This is not activated. And so what I found is by putting this out on my plants, non-activated charcoal, it does strip some nutrients and compete with the nutrients out of the plants. And I've gotten a lot of yellowing in them and things like that. But being that I have no intentions of planting in this general area for at least a year or two, I'm just gonna go ahead and toss them over there and allow it to be part of my deal. Essentially, when it gets wet, soggy, that helps activate it. So we're in the dry season now, during the rainy season, and it'll start to break down and probably have weeks at a time where it'll stay wet, and that'll theoretically activate it, at least in theory. And then these larger pieces, I'll burn them down. I'm going to turn off the fire before it gets to like soot. Right now, this is just like soot ash. And that's, you know, it's not really ideal. It's harder for plants to get through that stuff. It almost is like concrete when it dries, when you like water it in and stuff. So it's not ideal, but it's good for just dusting over and just getting rid of that pile. And when I get really, really fine, detailed into the plants, like the actual plants that I put around, I'll use a burn barrel. I'll do a video on that. I'll use a burn barrel and I'll extinguish it before it's down into the ash, where it is that nice charcoal, breaks apart in your hand. Then I'll move it into a barrel where I'll activate it for a few days. Then I'll put it out by hand around the plants. And I saw this done at an organic farm that I cleared like 4 acres for this guy. He had 8-acre farm, and all of what was already planted when I arrived there. He's like, what do you think of these plants? I'm like, dude, I've never seen anything like it. Tomato, it's just huge. I've never seen anything like it. He's like, yeah, man, not a single chemical's ever touched this place. Not a single one. And it was really impressive. He swore by charcoal, swore by it. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, the Amazon rainforest used to, in theory, support massive amounts of people. Just masses and masses of people. And people thought for a long time that wasn't possible because the soil down there is actually pretty poor. Geologists have found that may not have been the case because when they go down into the soil layer, they see a lot of potash. So it's reminiscent of a native society that actually did live there in quite abundance, and they had a method of creating their own soil. And this is one of those type of methods that kind of comes from there, but I'm not saying it's like Aztec Amazon stuff. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm just adding wood chips, and then on top of it, I'm probably going to use that topsoil, just a dust on top, and I'm going to do another layer. And that's just going to help expedite the process and help it break down a little bit quicker in my head, just because I might want to start planting it relatively soon. And the last bit there is on that, I got one mango, I don't know where to put it, so I'm going to put it back here. I'm going to dig that hole extra big, put some really good compost that's already broken down in that hole, and then by the time the mango grows to a certain size, 2-3 years from now, the rest of it will be compost. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of hack it there by just everything that the mango is in will be perfect, nice compost, and then everything that the future mango will be in as it grows in size will also be on its way to becoming very, very nice. And so hopefully over time, this area will just give us a really beautiful soil base to it. We'll put some bananas in there, put a larger chicken coop kind of where the tractor is, and then I'll let them roam here. But I want to get these little small plants, 1, get the soil happening, and then 2, get a couple plants in there, and then I'll move the chickens in there, which will be amazing because then we'll get like the chicken manure happening there. They scratch around, they till it. Chickens make a mess. And so if you're ready to replant the garden, letting chickens out into the garden is nice, but you don't want to have them just like browsing out there on the daily. So the chips, after we get this put out as a bottom layer, and all we're doing is we're just building layers in the soil. We're just trying to build just good layer after good layer after good layer, almost simulating what a forest would have done, like where you got your leaves that fall, you got dead tree matter. Maybe one time there was a forest fire, so there's a lot of ash that came through, so there might be an ash layer to it. Later on, there was more leaves and compost or composition that built up. We're just trying to simulate it, and we're trying to expedite it. We're trying to do a lot of it, and the fatter and thicker that it is, the more heat that's going to generate in there, the more it's going to break down, the quicker it's going to be. Because I want to get this area planted. I want food, man. I don't want to wait like 7 or 10 years to have some food coming off this. I'm hoping to be able to plant it in a year. I'll probably plant it earlier than that, realistically, but I'll just put some compost in those holes. But by the time those trees or plants get large enough, the rest of this will just be compost. So it'll just be 100% compost area, good topsoil, and then to keep the weeds down, I'll just add a layer of mulch every year. And that soil, 2-3 years from now, when we get videos, it should just be like fabulous. So thank you for liking, subscribing, and as always, I will see you in the comments.